like legit, really good person. So most of the hippies, they were unfortunately so intoxicated with drugs, they couldn't get up early in the morning. But Jayananda Prabhu was very regulated. He worked very hard. He would be the only person sitting in front of Srila Prabhupada and listening to a Bhagavatam lecture. Just pause and think about it, right? So today we would do anything to be in the association of Srila Prabhupada. And back in the day when Srila Prabhupada was just starting ISKCON, Jayananda Prabhu was there listening to the lecture every morning. And Srila Prabhupada was very, very fond of him. And he would invite, and back in the day, Prabhupada would cook, have that 3-tiered pressure cooker that you know what I'm talking about. You can put dal, vegetables, rice, all in one cooker. And Srila Prabhupada would cook for him, and he would serve Jayananda Prabhu and make sure that Jayananda Prabhu ate in front of him. So, and he wouldn't say anything, he just kept serving Srila Prabhupada. And Jayananda Prabhu was very happy to honor Prasad. So you see the picture on your left, that is Jayananda Prabhu's family. You see the young boy standing next to the dad, that is Jayananda Prabhu, his mom and his sister, very wonderful all-American family. And he grew up in a very stable household with a lot of opulence. Again, came to Ohio State, got his degree, but he didn't pursue a job that was commensurate with his education. He said he never fit in with the upper class crowd, so he actually was a cab driver in San Francisco. And he said that he was very depressed before he came to Krishna consciousness. And then he found a newspaper and it had an announcement, Swami from India is teaching the names of God. And so he came to the lecture and he fully was bought into the mission of Srila Prabhupada. So this is him and Srila Prabhupada. You can see he's quite tall. And he was always serving Srila Prabhupada very, very sincerely. And throughout his life, he imbibed the mood of gratitude to Srila Prabhupada. And I wanted to recite this verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Brahmanda Brahmite Kone Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bija. So how many of you here became a devotee because of reading a book? Okay, 3 people out of a lot of people. How many of you became a devotee because you saw another devotee? Okay, lot more hands, right? Somebody touched your heart. And that's what made you say, okay, this process is a legitimate process. I should go seriously. So the translation is, according to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems. Some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who's very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with the bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the Guru, spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service, Bhakti Lata Beach. But it's not enough to just get the seed. You have to have the soil and the environment. So the seed becomes a plant, a sapling, and then a creeper, and then a plant that flowers and fruits, right? So, and as the rest of the presentation, you'll see to what extent he pushed himself to show his gratitude to Srila Prabhupada. So as I mentioned, the picture on the left is the original Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri. You can just see the sea of humanity, the number of people, you know. And this is, as I mentioned before, all merciful Lord Jagannath. And when Srila Prabhupada went with his American Western disciples to Jagannath Puri, and he wanted all the disciples to go into Jagannath Puri and take darshan of Jagannath. But unfortunately, the group there said, people who are born outside India cannot come to the temple. Only Indians are allowed into the temple, which meant all these people who had given their blood and sweat to expanding Krishna Bhakti in the West couldn't set foot into the temple. And Srila Prabhupada was very upset. He said, Jagannath doesn't belong to one country, one caste, one community, one group of people. He belongs to the whole world. So then he gave this instruction to Jayananda Prabhu. He said, build the carts so we can conduct Rath Yatras all over the world. If we say Jagannath is the Lord of the universe, then we should have Rath Yatras all over the world. So in this picture, you see Jayananda Prabhu being very, very hard at work. You can see he's building all the carts. And there were a lot of tenets in Jayananda Prabhu's life, but I just picked three. We don't have enough time. We could speak for 6 hours or even more about him, but in the time that we have, just to crystallize, the first one was Jiva Daya, and that is compassion and kindness to everyone unconditionally. Not that you are compassionate, not that we are kind to someone because they look like us, they speak the same language, we are from the same country. None of that. That we as Vaishnavas, as devotees of Krishna and Srila Prabhupada, we are ambassadors of Krishna Bhakti, and we show love and kindness to everyone without preconditions. And how do we get that? How do we get to that state? The next thing is with Namaruchi, to have real taste in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And this is a direct quote from Jayananda Prabhu. He said, so many things may come and go, just have faith in the holy name. You have to keep chanting. And I think all of you who've been practicing bhakti for a while will relate to that. I see Rasika Radhika Mataji nodding her head. Things will go up and down, material circumstances, whatever will happen. But when you look back and see, you'll see that your attachment to the holy name took you through the low times and keeps you inspired through the high times. So we always, that is our number one duty, to have attachment to the holy name. And the third one is Vaishnava Seva. Every moment was spent in service to Guru, sadhus, devotees, and Krishna, and to all people, all conditions also. And the word that is used in Sanskrit is avyartha kalatvam, which means you do not waste a single minute. Okay. And I think about this verse a lot when I'm either doom scrolling or checking WhatsApp and saying I shouldn't be spending time on this. But as a result of avyartha kalatvam, what it also means is that we are very, very hard workers. We are not lazy or idle. We work very hard in our service. So this verse I thought crystallized the life of Jayananda Prabhu. This is from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, entitled Devotional Service or Bhakti Yoga. I'll read the Sanskrit and I need a volunteer to read the English. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitraha karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankaraha sama dukkha shuka shami santushta satatam yogi yatatma dhrida nishchayaha mayi arpita mano buddhir yomad bhakta same priyaha. May I have a volunteer from the Matajis? Yes, Mataji.
One who is not envious but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination. His mind and intelligence fixed on me, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me.
Thank you, Mataji. So when we use the word false ego, I'm just clarifying for the new people. False ego means that I am this body, I am the controller of everything. Our real ego is I am the servant of Krishna, and I am an instrument in the hands of Krishna, and I want to be a capable instrument in the hands of Krishna. He's the controller, he's the enjoyer, and my job is just to serve him. So Jayananda Prabhu's life, as you will see, his life is summarized in these two verses. So his character was much louder than his words. He didn't have to say so many things, just the way he conducted himself. As I said, he helped organize the first Ratha Yatra festival, also in San Francisco, New York, Philly, and then it spread like wildfire through the rest of the world. He brought out the best out of everyone. I think everyone will have that experience, someone in your family or work or something, or devotee community, that there is someone who's so saintly that they bring out the best out of you. Okay? And he did this without any official designation. He was not a temple president. He was not a sannyasi. He wasn't like a leader of this. He had no official title. And yet, his conduct, his service attitude, his humility was so good that he genuinely earned everyone's commanded respect in a room, and he brought the best out of everyone. He was fully renounced. Although he wasn't officially an initiated sannyasi, he didn't keep anything to himself. Sometimes we hold back, we don't give ourselves fully. He gave himself fully. Like all the money he earned, he gave it to Srila Prabhupada and his service. And he did all this with a lot of enthusiasm. This word contagious is now a negative tone after COVID, but You all know what I mean when I say when one person is enthusiastic, even if you're a little depressed, you pick yourself up because the other person is so enthusiastic. He had that with him. And he had a very, very special relationship with Srila Prabhupada. And I'll tell a story real quick. So one of the words Srila Prabhupada said was, do the needful. Sometimes we may like one particular service, but that may not be the need of the hour. Something else might be the need of the hour. Like for this Ratha Yatra, Radhika Mataji usually puts together this big spreadsheet that says who's doing what, and that is not easy to sit down and put together the list, think about every detail. And sometimes we might think, my skills are best suited for that service, but that service might be already taken up by someone. But then there's some other service taking the trash that nobody signed up. When Srila Prabhupada says do the needful, that's what he means. Whatever is there, that's a need, just sign up. That may not be commensurate to your skills, but that's the need of the hour. Let's just get it done as a group. So he bought the supplies, he built all the carts, and because he had a mechanical engineering degree, he was very good at all that. He had the knowledge, and he made all the phone calls, did all the fundraising for prasadam, for building the cart, flowers. He did all that. He went to the city officials and got all the necessary permits. And he cooked and he transported the prasadam. And he did all this, and then he would show up on the day of Ratha Yatra and lead Kirtan enthusiastically. All of us who served on Janmashtami know that it takes many people to do each one of these. And here is one person who did all that. And also he took out the trash. He didn't say, I did all this, my time is better served in doing these high-profile services. He did menial service too. And here you see him being near the phone, giving people instructions on what to do. He also had very genuine humility. He touched people's hearts by saintly character. Here you see, you can imagine, like, how many of you have gone to New York City Ratha Yatra? So if you have time in your life, at least once go. This year, New York Ratha Yatra and ISKCON Ratha Yatra the same day, so don't go to New York, stay in Columbus. But next year, go to New York. Okay. And because you'll see the arterial road in New York, Fifth Avenue, you'll see 1,000 NYPD police officers taking care of devotees on Ratha Yatra. So you can see here Jayananda Prabhu, how nice and respectful he is to the police officers. So we as Vaishnavas, we shouldn't differentiate, put everyone in a box. This is my group, that is another group. For us, everyone is Paramatma and Krishna is there in everyone, and we show respect to everyone. And so there's one story. So these devotees would go to the police department to get the permit, right? Because if you're going to block the roads, you have to get permits. And there was one lady who was very antagonistic. She was like, I don't know what you guys do. You look weird. Back in the day, nobody was wearing dhoti and devotees were wearing dhoti. So she was very hostile. And Jayananda Prabhu would always have a smile, talk to her. And after the Ratha Yatra was done, he would bake a pie and go to the police department and give it to everyone, saying thank you for your help on that day. So he made people feel very special and valued. So every year he would make the trek, get the permit, the lady would yell at him, he would take all of the abuse and come home. And the year that he passed, 1977, of course, other devotees went to get the permit, and this very hostile lady said, where is Johnny Ananda? She couldn't say Jayananda, so she said, where is Johnny Ananda? Usually he's the one who comes for the permits. And the devotee said, I'm sorry, he left his body, he had leukemia and he died. And this lady who was so hostile, always yelling at devotees, completely broke down and started sobbing. And she said, he's the nicest person I've ever met in my life. And she said, I don't know what your philosophy is. I don't know what you guys do all day. But if he was with you, you all must be good. Okay. So that is one lesson for us, all of us are here in the temple, but all the other 177 hours in a week, we are not here. We are here at work, we are here in our families. Can people say that about us? I don't know what your philosophy is, I don't know what you do all day, but if you are associated with that, then it must be good. So if that is my takeaway, like if we can lead our lives in that way. And him and said, Jayananda Prabhu did this, did that, and they glorified him, what his response was? He would say to people, if you've been around this movement a few years, people naturally offer you some respect. So he minimized whatever he did. He said it's the devotees' kindness that they're offering me respect. I didn't do anything special. That was his attitude, one of genuine humility. And if somebody, despite that, kept glorifying him, he would just get up and leave the room. So if you didn't want Jayananda Prabhu to leave the room, then you kept him up quiet and you didn't do much. So he also had a service attitude. When people asked him how he became so advanced, his response was, I don't know. I never had the time to think about it. I had too much service to do. And every time Srila Prabhupada would visit San Francisco, he would ask, where is Jayananda? I want to see him. And they couldn't find Jayananda Prabhu because he was always working hard and doing service. And even when they did find him, he would say, my clothes are dirty. I shouldn't go like this in front of my guru. Plus, I have to do this work, that work, Rath Yatra is coming up. And one devotee just dragged him and said, Prabhupada absolutely wants to see you. Just go. And he saw Prabhupada. Prabhupada was so happy. He gave him a big hug. And Prabhupada stroked his head and said, why don't you sit down, and started the Bhagavatam lecture. And Jayananda Prabhu, I told you before all the services he did, but he still wouldn't miss a single day of Mangala Arati at 4:30, which meant he had to wake up early, finish his 16 rounds, then attend Mangala Arati, and then go and do all the service. So you can imagine he was probably very, very sleep deprived. So when the Bhagavatam class started at 8, he started dozing off. And one devotee tapped on his shoulder to say, Prabhupada is speaking, you should wake up. And Prabhupada said, stop, don't wake him up. He works so hard. I have never seen him sit idle. He's just, with his body, mind, and deeds, he's always serving Krishna. If he sleeps, that is the necessary rest he needs. This is not the reaction Prabhupada had for everyone who slept in his class. He would throw something, make them, call them rascal or whatever, right? But Prabhupada knew how hard Jayananda Prabhu worked, and he gave that allowance to him. And this other thing is freedom from fault finding or freedom from criticizing others. Okay? I'm going to tell you the story, and it's a very heartwarming story. So one time there was a devotee back in the early days. He had a falling out with the temple management and other devotees, and this devotee was really mad, and he just left the temple. And of all the things he could have done, of all the jobs he could have taken, he took the job of a meat butcher. He went to a grocery store, and that's the job he took. Maybe that was the only job available, and he took that job. And Jayananda Prabhu had come after 2 or 3 days of traveling Sankirtan, and he said, what happened to that devotee? Like, he was very nice. What happened? He's not here. And all the devotees said, well, he got angry and he left the temple. Okay, he had a falling out and he left the temple. And someone asked, and Jayananda Prabhu said, well, where is he? I want to go see him. And the other devotee said, you wouldn't want to go there. This is what he's doing now. And Jayananda Prabhu said, okay. He took a big plate of prasadam. He went in search of the devotee. He went to the grocery store. He went to the meat department, and he found this devotee there, working on having his apron, which was completely blood-stained. Okay? I don't know what we will do in that situation. I don't know how many of us would actually go there, but this is what he did. He went to the devotee. He gave him a big hug, and he said, I am missing you so much. You are such a sincere devotee. I'm not sure what happened, but we can sort it all out. Just come back. And I brought this prasadam for you. I heard you left 2 days ago, which means for 2 days you didn't get any prasadam. I want you to sit down and eat. I think we don't need to share openly, but we can introspect in our own mind whether we would do that. Go hug someone who has a bloodstained apron, give them prasadam, and beg them to come back. So he was not on the mental platform. He was on the spiritual platform. He saw everyone as a part of Krishna. And that you could never do any mistake that you're condemned forever. Krishna doesn't do that. Who are we to do that? So that was Jayananda Prabhu's greatness. And he was dear to everyone. There's in the next slide, there's a verse from the Sad Goswami Ashtakam. There's a verse, I think in the Bhagavatam, where we say that sometimes devotees are very respectful to the deities, but not respectful to other devotees. and that is Kanishta Adhikari, that we think God is only there in the temple. But God is within each one of us. God is within each one of the persons outside this temple, right? And Jayananda Prabhu's conduct was so good that both devotees and people outside the community who didn't know him, everyone liked him. And he was also expert at engaging everyone in Krishna's service. So there was one devotee who he had heard the holy name in Wisconsin. There was a Harinam party and he had heard the holy name. He was very attracted, but then he couldn't find the devotees. He was like looking for it. Back then we didn't have Google, WhatsApp, internet, nothing, no cell phone. So you still had snail mail, you had to buy a magazine. So this devotee didn't know how to get a hold of Hare Krishna devotees or temple. So he was just looking, and this devotee was searching, and he finally showed up one day in San Francisco at the temple, and he saw Jayananda Prabhu building the Rath Yatra cart. He was a very young devotee, he was a teenager. So Jayananda Prabhu said, you look very well built and able bodied. I need strong people to build this cart. Why don't I give you a small job? It's just 1 hour, you sit here, hold this nail, and I have to hammer this nail in the cart. As you all know, the Jagannath carts are built with wood. It doesn't run on electricity. It's still the old school wheel. Okay. And so this young teenager devotee held the nail and Jagannath Prabhu hammered it. And he said, you did it so well because this is the most important part of the cart and you did it really well. If you have some more time, maybe you can help me. And he said, yeah, I don't have anything to do. Give me more nails. He gave him more nails, built the cart. And then after 1 hour, the boy said, you know what? I like this job. I'll just stay here until the evening. So he helped Jayananda Prabhu the whole day. And then Jayananda Prabhu said, you must be very hungry, working so hard. Why don't you eat? And the devotees, the teenage boy said, I'll just spend the night in the temple because you still have so much work to do. I'll spend the night and do it tomorrow. And then the next day he worked. One night became 7 nights, and 7 nights became 30 nights. He joined the temple as a brahmachari. He met Srila Prabhupada and became an initiated disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And he then became a sannyasi. He then became an initiating guru. Do you know who I'm talking about? Yes, that is none other than His Holiness Jayapatka Maharaj. So for those of you who don't know him, Jayapatka Maharaj has done a lot of service in the eastern part of India, Bengal, ISKCON Mayapur, the southern part of India. He's originally from Wisconsin, and all this happened because of his association with Jayananda Prabhu. And so this is the verse from Sad Goswami Ashtakam. Maybe I can ask Ishika and Kirti and Haripriya to sing the song. No? Okay. Krishna Kirtana Gana Nattana Parau Premamritambo Nidhi Dira Dira Jana Priyau Priyakarau Nirmatsarau Pujitau Shri Chaitanya Kripa Bharau Bhuvi Bhuvo Bharavahantarakau Vande Rupa Sanatanau Raghuyugau Shri Jiva Gopalakau. So this is a verse glorifying the 6 Goswamis. And one of the things that the verse says is, and I highlighted in yellow, they are just like the ocean of love of God, and they are popular both with the gentle and with the ruffians because they are not envious of anyone. Whatever they do, they are all pleasing to everyone and they are fully blessed by Lord Chaitanya. Jayananda Prabhu was like that. He didn't get into politics. He was not envious of anyone. Everyone loved him. And that is another quality we can learn from him. And I said, if Johnny Ananda is doing it, it must be good. He was always in the mood of sharing Krishna consciousness with others. Here you see him enthusiastically leading kirtan. And one thing I forgot to mention is, I mentioned about how he would go to the police department, get the permits. To this day, almost 48 years later, imagine the first Rath Yatra was 1967. We are in 2025. To this day, one of the reasons that ISKCON has a very good relationship with the city is because of him. He created such a favorable impression, and it made it easy for the next round of devotees to continue their work. So this is the Samadhi in ISKCON Rajapur. I have never visited Mayapur, but I know many of you have. And near Mayapur, the Rajapur temple, that is in 2011, the governing body commission of ISKCON recognized that there needed to be a memorial, a place, a proper place for Jainanda Prabhu, and created a Samadhi for him. And you can see the inscription again. And that's how he was when he was healthy, but that's how he also was when he was sick. So when he developed acute leukemia, initially he got some treatments, then he went to Mexico and got some treatments. And when he was in Mexico, he would start leading kirtan with all the other patients. He would discuss the Gita, tell them we are not this body, and teach the Gita until the hospital management said, you can't teach any religion. And then he said, I'm not going to be here. If I can't share Krishna, I'll just come back to Los Angeles. And this is him in Los Angeles. And you can see he looks quite frail, but even then he's like giving cookies to young kids, and had a very gentle demeanor, and always again brought out the best out of everyone. He was humble, enthusiastic, and determined till the very end. And this next one that I'm going to show is, it's not about Jainanda Prabhu, but it's about his mother. So in the Bhagavatam, many of you are very scholarly in the scriptures. I don't know the verse, but many of you will know. There's a verse, particularly in relation to Prahlad, that says that when we become pure devotees, when we become devotees without any expectation, without going to Krishna with a list, give me this, give me that, no list. We go to Krishna just to serve him. What can I do for you? And we pray in good times and bad. It's not like our sadhana is very good when things are going well, but then rough times happen and everything craters. We are steady, we are uninterrupted, and we have no material motives. When we do that, the Bhagavatam says that it not only helps us, but it helps our forefathers. So for Prahlad, Narasimhadev says that 21 generations of your forefathers have been liberated. Okay. And this is something that happened in real life. So I showed you this picture in the beginning. You see his mother up there. Her name is Jane Kaur. And so this is a letter written by a disciple named Kalindi Dasi to her guru, His Holiness Chandramouli Maharaj. Chandramouli Maharaj is coming here next week. You can ask him about this story. So basically, Kalindi Mataji was staff in a hospice unit. Are you guys familiar what hospice is? So it's when patients with terminal illnesses, they don't have much time to live, then they go to hospice and they are cared for. The goal is not to lengthen someone's life, just to take care of their quality of life. So this devotee was wearing tilak, and many times people express their faith in different ways, and this devotee was wearing tilak. And on Monday, August 6, 2007, you don't need to read the report. I just put it up to know that I'm not making stuff up. It's actually legit. So August 6, 2007, she was doing her daily rounds, and she saw this patient, Jane Kaur. And this devotee would always sing the Mahamantra while she's taking care of patients. Sometimes patients are unconscious, sometimes they're struggling. She would softly sing. She was giving a bath to this lady, and she didn't know who Jane Kaur was. How would she know? She was giving a bath, and then it looked like she really didn't have much time left. So she called the hospice staff to call the family, and the whole family came to the bedside. So now this devotee is explaining to the family about what to expect, and she's stepping out when the grandson of that lady comes running out, points to the tilak and asks, "Are you a Hare Krishna?" And she says, "Yes, I'm a devotee of Krishna." And the grandson says, "Maybe you know my uncle Jayananda." And this devotee says, "The Jayananda," as in the Jayananda. And he said, "Yeah, he used to build these big carts for the festivals." And this devotee right away knew that he was talking about Jayananda Prabhu. So she was just so overwhelmed that if she could do any service to Jayananda Prabhu's family, that's a big deal for her. So she went back in, did some kirtan. And Jayananda Prabhu's sister, who you see in that picture sitting in the lap of his mother, her name is Gainal Kaur, and she said that whole week she was praying to her brother, because it's very hard to lose a parent and it's harder to do that alone. So she was taking care of her mother, and she was praying to him and saying, "Show me a sign that you are there, that I'm not alone." That was her prayer to her brother. And she connected the dots and said the fact that so many people could have taken care of his mother that day, but this Krishna devotee took care of his mother. So she took that as a sign that her brother was present with her in spirit. And then the conversation became into how Jayananda Prabhu was like as a child. So his sister said that when they went on family vacations, and all of us have gone on family vacations, road trips, airplanes, you know how our children are impatient the whole time before you reach, after you reach, right? And he was in the beach and he saw a homeless dog, and the whole family is frolicking at the beach. He took the dog and he started picking every flea and tick from the dog because he couldn't bear to see the dog suffer. So that's what I meant when I said Jiva Daya, that your compassion is not just in certain people, certain groups of people, but it extends to all living entities. So his family was recalling that he was saintly even from a very young age. And so this devotee was just so overwhelmed that she had the chance to serve Jainanda Prabhu. And this is what I mean when we read it from the Bhagavatam, that when we are pure, it helps our whole family. This is what it means. That at the moment of death for his mother, she was surrounded by Harinam Kirtan and devotees. So as I said, I would finish early. So what I wanted to share and make us all introspect and reflect and share is that what are the qualities of Jayananda Prabhu that you've heard so far that inspire you the most? If you can share about that, and what you hope to develop, that is the internal reflection. You don't need to talk about that. But what I took from that is that be always in the mood of sharing Krishna consciousness by our words, but more importantly, by our actions. We can know all the scriptures, but if we are not kind and compassionate, people will see the hypocrisy in that. And only by our kindness, people are very lonely in this world. It's a rough, sometimes it's very rough to manage all the difficulties. But if we can spread a little kindness, people will be curious and attracted to Krishna Bhakti. And we may be busy in whether it's temple seva at work, seva for your family. We are all very, very busy. We could be externally very busy and engaged in service, but internally we should be clear why we are doing it, even to our family. Our family are also manifestations of Krishna, and by serving them, we are serving Krishna. So if we can maintain that internal absorption, like many of you, sometimes we get upset when we cook something and our family members don't acknowledge it. Like getting up away from that mental platform and being in the spiritual platform, that we are internally absorbed in our connection with the holy name through our service. And the last slide is purity is the force. Prabhupada, this was one of the quotes of Prabhupada. And in the preface to the Bhagavad Gita, before the chapter 1 starts, Prabhupada says, if even one person in our movement can become a pure devotee, my job is done. And we know we have many, many, many pure devotees, and Jayananda Prabhu is one. And we learn about these Vaishnavas not only to glorify them, but also for us to know one day we can become like them. So there's a common saying, you probably have heard of two popular British prime ministers. One is Winston Churchill, and the other is Benjamin Disraeli. And people would say that when you came from a meeting with Winston Churchill, you would think, wow, he's a great prime minister. He's a great man. But when you came from a room with Benjamin Disraeli, you thought, he is great, and I also can be like him. So there are leaders of both kinds in every space we are. Some leaders are great that we want to, we admire them, but the really genuine leaders are that they give us hope that one day we can become like them. And Jayananda Prabhu is like that. And so this, the intent of this presentation was for us to gain inspiration, but for us to get closer to that stage of pure devotion. So I'll stop here and get feedback and realizations, and thank you for your attention. Hare Krishna. So if you don't volunteer, this will be like Sunday school. I will call upon you. So who would like to go first?
Can I?
Yes, Madhushi.
Hare Krishna Mataji, very nice class, very inspiring. Wish we can use one part of it and we can improve that, that would be good.
I like the example that we went to butcher, after that devotee left ISKCON and he said, why he's not here, and he went to butcher and he went to his workplace and gave him prasad. That was very, very good. But my question on that sometimes, I hear that philosophy that, you ask devotee to come and don't pressure them too much, because we need to leave them up to Krishna. So I don't understand that how he went and why he cannot do, like, I have a friend, she came a couple of times. But then I don't want to say somebody's name, but they said, don't ask them too many times, So what is that? How we can balance that?
It varies by time, place, and circumstance, and also by the person. But in general, what I've observed, Mata, our intent is sincere. Because one way we can think about it is if someone suddenly stopped coming to the temple, our first thought should be, is that devotee okay? Like, what's happening in their life? They were coming and suddenly they're not coming. Are they faced with some overwhelming health issue or financial issue or whatever, relationship issue, that they don't have the bandwidth to now come to temple? When we approach in that mood to say, it's not about pressurizing you to come to temple. I just want to make sure you're okay. And if you're not okay, is there anything I can do to help you? Right? And sometimes when people are sick, we'll say, let me know how I can help, right? But that is also putting the onus on that person. Now they have to think about how you can help. But when we are really invested in caring for someone, we will do a lot of things. We will cook prasadam, we will arrange a ride, we will show up. And so I would say it depends on the relationship we have with that person. But if our mood is, I want to make sure you're okay, and no matter what's happening, let's have an honest conversation and just sit down with them and talk. I think that's okay. But show sincerity about the genuine concern for them. You are coming and now you're not coming. Is everything okay? What's going on? And oftentimes the answer will be, this is happening in my family and all that. And then we can say, okay, I can understand. Maybe you don't want to come when the temple is crowded, but maybe you want to come at night when there's no one, and I'll come and be with you. Or if you want to do japa, I'll be with you. That's the beauty of Krishna consciousness. It is so personalized. There is no guidebook. We follow our heart. Because Paramatma is also in our heart. Paramatma is also in their heart. So when we are sincere saying, I think this person will benefit a lot from Krishna Bhakti. They were so peaceful when they came to the temple, but now they're not coming. Krishna will give you the right words, the right tone, and that person will also be receptive to what you're saying. Sure. Anyone else? We have 5 more minutes. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very nice, touchy. More than philosophy, it's a walking the talk. Philosophy and action. Many teachings that the one who stood up for me is genuine service attitude. It is in reality, you advance tell us you about interest. So I have no time for that. I don't think about it. The person who is doing it, they just look for genuine service attitude. That stands for the one reflection.
Prabhu, can you speak up? Sorry, we cannot hear you.
Yeah, I was just reflecting his genuine service attitude. When somebody praised him, you're so advanced, tell us how did you get there? He did not give the class. He says, I'm too busy in serving, I didn't think about anything else. So focus service attitude, whether somebody sees or not, because taking crash is out there, Guru sees. And he never, that's one thing. And second thing is the compassion. The compassion shows in many ways. Like now what she was asking. Sometimes the compassion is that maintaining a distance. Sometimes pulling. Sometimes pushing. Sometimes whatever is needed. You said needed the word, doing the needful. So that comes once we pray to Krishna. What should I do? What do you want me to do in this situation for to serving this word? And Krishna gives that intelligence from within. So that's two things I want to share.
Yes, one thing I wanted to add was when he went to that butcher in the grocery store, he didn't give him a Bhagavatam class about when you kill an animal, this is what happened. Fifth canto says this is a hellish planet. None of that. Right? So sometimes
We have to be very cautious about not using Shastra as a weapon, making people guilty, judging them harshly. Our job is just to be an instrument in the hands of Srila Prabhupada. The rest, Prabhupada and Krishna will do. And if the other person, we don't have that kind of relationship, think about what would have happened in that devotee, the devotee who became a butcher. How hurt he must have been for him to do that. Right? So many times when Keshav Maharaj came here to Columbus, Premvilas Prabhu asked him, Krishna consciousness is growing. What do you think we need? And Keshav Maharaj's answer was, we have many amazing devotees, and what the movement can do better is a little bit more kindness. Because we are all living very, trying to balance so many things, work, family, seva, everything. Just having a little kindness to each other, kindness outside, even within our own family, within our own community, that goes a long way. Are you familiar with this poet Maya Angelou? She's a very exalted, renowned poet here. She said, people will not remember the exact words you said, but people will remember exactly how your words made them feel. Have you heard of the situation like in our families, sometimes people don't talk to each other for 15 years. Then you ask them why you are still angry. They may not even remember the exact words, but you can tell when they speak, their emotion comes out, right? So we have to be very mindful about how our words might land on the other person's heart, and be very cautious about using this instrument. Yeah. Yes.
So what I express is from devotee. So from Krishna perspective, see now when we talk about that example, his sister is praying. So Krishna also reciprocated. Could have been somebody else, but he exactly arranged in such a way that so her prayers will be answered. So the devotee is like that, their boss is also like that.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to share? Any of the children? Shivam, do you want to share something? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for your attention. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.